This is my race car, and we're replacing every suspension component on it. We previously fixed this car's engine with all new head studs, hoses, timing kit, cam gears, and more, where I immediately proceeded to rip the car on the track and drop my original time by 6 seconds. Now it has entirely new problems. Weight transfers uncontrollably, the bushings are holding on to a thread, it bounces around all over the track, and the springs look like they sat in the ocean for 30 days and were put back on the car. My WRX has no grip. No grip means slow and almost spinning out not once, but twice. That changes today. Because rather than do the respectable thing, like a driver mod, we're gonna replace every suspension component on this rusty WRX in the pursuit to shave off like 5 seconds of lap time. Nolan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why do like small incremental changes and like learn and grow with the car when you could just throw a whole bin of parts at it and see what happens?
But we live in the Rust Belt, so it is safe to say there's gonna be plenty of rusty problems under this car. So hit that like button, subscribe, and get comfortable. In classic Subaru fashion, one wheel off, the CV boot is leaking grease everywhere. It's basically all over the place, so that's gonna have to be addressed. It looks like there's a pinhole. Actually, that's not a pinhole, it's a pretty big hole. But it's leaking everywhere. The lower control arm is rusted. The bushings are shot, OEM, it's 115,000 miles. Rusted strut in the front, so all this out.
Oh, that bolt was nasty. My name is Nolan. We're here at my shop, Baltz Autosport. We mainly focus here on Subaru specialty applications with an even more special focus for motorsports. At this point in the build, we're focusing on everything suspension related. With this car specifically, we are dealing with not only a bunch of OEM suspension, but also very worn OEM suspension. So we're not only getting the compliance or performance downsides of factory suspension, but we're also getting the extra downside of worn factory suspension. So normally for someone that is just beginning on their journey to improve their track driving, we'd focus on upgrading suspension components incrementally, just so the owner can kind of grow with the car and then learn to get more comfortable and then kind of find where the limit of both themselves and also the vehicle is and improve things from there. More or less the goal here is to not hinder growth as a driver or your learning experience as a driver, and instead give you a good platform that's going to allow Nolan to excel in his learning journey here. And also, like, it's really fun to just throw a bunch of new shiny parts on a car, and I'm sure it's more interesting for you too, right? Right?
Starting with the front lower control arms. So problem with these, one, they're heavy. Two, they are somehow still in one piece because they are rusted to shit. And three, the bushings are somehow still holding on to a thread. Don't know how that's possible, but they still exist. This, garbage. However, these are not garbage. So these are the white line front lower control arms. They are aluminum, so we are gonna get some lighter weight here. Partially unsprung, which is gonna be very noticeable, or it should be noticeable at least. New bushings all the way around. It's gonna be a little bit stiffer. It's gonna increase some vibrations, but we do want to feel out every aspect of the car on the track because it matters when you're chasing tiny seconds. Three, it has a slight caster correction in the front. And here to explain caster is Nolan.
Okay, these off. Caster is the measurement of the steering axis in relation to the vehicle's vertical plane. So in the case of the Subaru front suspension design, our front strut is more or less the steering axis. So the caster angle is how far off the strut is from being perpendicular to the ground. We pretty much want to get as much negative caster as we can get, as they don't really have a lot from the factory and it's not exactly adjustable. The added benefit of these white line lower control arms is the offset rear mount bushing. And what that offset does is effectively moves the knuckle further forward in relation to our strut here. Adding the negative caster is going to make the turn in a little bit sharper, the handling a little bit more precise, opposed to the opposite effect. If you had more positive caster, that's going to make the car track straighter, feel a little bit more stable at speed. You know, things you'd want in a typical street car. But that's not something we typically want on a track-focused vehicle.
With the lower control arms replaced with some fresh ones and a little bit of caster adjustment, we still have some problems on the front of the car, and that's gonna be understeering and oversteering, which these cars are notorious for, because this is a front sway bar that is not stiff and not adjustable. So we're gonna take this and replace it with an Eibach adjustable sway bar. It's got a stiff and soft setting. It's a bigger diameter than the front, so it's just gonna be stiffer all the way around. And just like that, we're gonna reduce understeer.
Yeah, it's actually not that simple.
But it is, it's that simple.
It's not. The reality is both the front and rear suspension have a direct relationship with each other. And as such, both the front and rear sway bars have a direct relationship with each other. So in general, a stiffer front bar is actually going to increase understeer, where a stiffer bar in the rear is going to increase oversteer. Those two things do not exist in a vacuum though. In reality, they have a direct effect on each other. So in this case, we're actually changing out both the front and rear bar, but not to the same degree. Because the factory rear bar is thinner, we're actually raising the thickness of the rear bar by more of a percentage than we are the front bar. Both these bars changing this amount will actually take the car from its stock form of wanting to mostly induce understeer if you're overdriving the car to instead wanting to induce oversteer as you're underdriving the car. Or maybe somewhere in between, you know, something a little more neutral.
The Eibach sway bar upgrades the diameter to 25 millimeters, a 19% increase over the OEM's 21 millimeter bar. But before everything is ready to go, there's one more modification we need to add to the car. Something that is also important that's gonna go along with the sway bar are gonna be the sway bar end links. Now, the last time I took it out on the track, Nolan did a quick look around the car and actually found that I had snapped one in half. So we replaced them with some brand new Cusco ones.
Cusco.
The issue with the Cusco ones is that they are not adjustable. So we picked up some brand new white line adjustable sway bar end links so we can make them longer or shorter as necessary. That is important because we want to have a neutral setting on the sway bar when the car is static on the ground. We want no tension on either side, so that way when it starts to work the way it's intended, when you're going around a corner, it's not affecting the coilovers in any way, and it's working as it's intended to be.
There you go. Stop.
We have one last problem to fix on the front of the car. We've got the lower control arms in, we've got the sway bar in, but these struts are in absolute horrible condition. And we've got the mod that's gonna make this car an actual build. Like, it's not a build without this one thing. It's got a livery wrap, it's got new wheels, it's got tint, but it's not an actual build if you don't have coilovers. You have probably noticed that the car has a custom livery on it, and that is because Import Image Racing is the main sponsor of the car, and they sent us over these Silvers Neomax coilovers, which is one of their in-house brands. These are a single-way adjustable coilover versus a two-way, which they do have. The two-way allows you to basically adjust the compression and rebound independently, but right now I don't want to overwhelm myself with too many adjustments on this car. I want to be able to improve the ride quality, get some faster lap times, and have a good base to go from, and then from there we can actually fine-tune all the details and try to extract as much time as possible out of the car. It does have camber plates on top to adjust the camber. It does have 24 levels of damping adjustment. Damping will control the rate of flow inside of the piston. What we'll probably do is start with a neutral setting for the front and rear. As far as the springs, we did upgrade them on the front and the rear. So we replaced the original springs with Swift springs because they are gonna be much better. And we have 9K in the front and 11K in the rear, which we actually know somebody who had the same car, and we just took those specs and yeah, we're sending it. They are a linear spring rate, so the compression is the same no matter how much is raised or lowered, which we will be getting to that because preload is actually a myth, and that is not how you set up a coilover, particularly for the track. With the front of the car fully refreshed, we were almost ready to start the rear. The axle still needed to be pulled and the boot replaced. To make things even more interesting, Nolan discovered issues with a few rear suspension arms, leading us to call an audible.
There are a couple arms in the rear that don't really have a huge benefit from swapping to a expensive aftermarket adjustable arm, but we do still have worn bushings in our factory arms here. So rather than trying to deal with pressing out this rusted in bushing and then maybe opting to clean up the factory arm to make it look a little nicer. A cost saving kind of hack or trick you can do is buy some cheaper OE replacement arms and then put your new upgraded aftermarket bushings into those.
So this is the Rock Auto Special arm. It's brand new. It's gonna look good like every other part underneath, and it'll look fresh. And we've got some brand new bushings to put in here. This is the OE bushing that just came out of the brand new arm that Nolan had popped out. In reality, this actually would have been just fine to put on the car for the most part. It has got less mileage. It's got 0 mileage, so it would have been brand new. It would have been fresh, but it's still somewhat soft. So these are the Super Pro bushings. They're gonna be stiffer, gonna have a little bit less deflection. They're gonna be somewhat of an upgrade for the trailing arms. So because we're putting in new arms, we might as well replace the bushings while we have everything out. And we didn't plan on this, but we had to call up Import Image Racing to send us these overnight last minute, and we were able to get them very quick. So good, bad.
These bushings weren't the easiest to replace, but after a couple attempts, we were finally able to line it up properly and get them inserted. And of course, if you're doing something like bushings, it doesn't make sense to replace just one component with new ones, so we replaced every bushing in the rear.
But that wasn't the only rusty component we decided to take off and replace. We also have the rear upper control arm, which is in terrible condition all the way around. All the bushings are shot basically, and these bushings right here actually caused quite of an issue, which Nolan pointed out to me.
Yeah, another like just factor to point out when you're replacing like a bunch of original suspension components is you're going to get bushing tension. So basically where you have the bushing on a point where the bolt is installed through it is now seized in place at whatever position, you know, typically like resting ride height. So now instead of that bushing or suspension piece, you know, pivoting on that point, you actually have the rubber in the bushing twisting as the wheel, you know, moves up and down. And what that's doing is actually affecting your spring rate per corner because you have more tension on the entire suspension articulation.
To combat that, we have the Autorock Special OE upper rear control arm with all new white line bushings.
Oh dang, I thought I'd have room to pull it off clean.
With the rear trailing arm and upper control arm completely refreshed, we were almost ready to get the rear put back together. Only the knuckle bushings remain. And for every car project, there's always something that goes wrong or doesn't make sense, and this turned out to be it.
Part out.
Part out. To fix these rubbery OEM super soft squishy bushings, we have some brand new Super Pro bushings. We also have another one which is a white line. The reason why we didn't get Super Pro for both of them simply because the Super Pro was back ordered for the other one. So we have some solid poly blue bushings, gonna be stiffer, gonna give us a little bit more response. Right, Nolan?
Uh-huh.
More response is good, and it shouldn't do that.
Proper bush lubrication.
So this white line bushing is actually labeled outer control arm, and it's supposed to be the control arm and the knuckle that connects to that, but it is actually the trailing arm. I guess they just interchange them. It's the same thing to them. This does not fit in the knuckle here at all. So that's not going in. So we're gonna leave the Super Pro ones in. We're gonna have an extra pair of bushings that we will not use. And the other Super Pro ones that we need happen to be on back order. So we're gonna have to figure something else out for now.
After hours of searching online trying to figure out why what seemed to be two correct bushings for the outer knuckle area, we were stumped. The diameters were simply not correct, even with the correct diagrams to reference. Determined, Nolan had found a similar thread in forums, the place where real DIY advice is found, and for some reason unknown to us, it turns out the bushing we needed was a white line that's for a Forester, and thankfully, it fit. Which meant we were finally ready to upgrade everything in the rear, and we've got it all. Coilovers, control arms, sway bars, links, and more.
It's all coming together. Dang.
With the rear coilover, we went with a stiffer 11K compared to the front 9K to help increase rotation and keep the car planted through corners. But that's only one piece of the puzzle.
This is the rear OEM lower control arm. One issue with this is that we can't adjust the camber. It's one setting, one bolt. There's no way to adjust that. The bushing's shot, so we can't reuse it. And it's basically just a piece of sheet metal that's been stamped and welded on the end for the bushing. So we've got a part to replace this. These are Import Image Racing's newest in-house brand called Midnight Drive. They've got a variety of suspension components, and we've got our hands on a couple like this rear lower control arm. We're gonna have the adjustable camber that we need by twisting the end in and out. We'll be able to adjust the camber of the rear wheels, giving us that fine tuning that we want. The bushing is also more solid, giving us a little bit more feel of the car out on the track. And the construction overall is just very solid. This thing is a little bit heavier than the OEM, but it's gonna be beefy. So Midnight Drive, Import Image Racing's newest brand. Excited to try these out. With all the adjustability and making sure all the bushings are upgraded on the car, another problem is going to be the rear tow arm. As you can see, you can't adjust this. It's a solid piece. So there is no adjustability for tow, and because we're doing so much precise alignment, raising the car, lowering the car, camber adjustment, we're gonna wanna be able to adjust the tow. To solve that problem, white line rear tow arms. So a couple things about them. One, the color is pretty fucking sweet if you ask me. That is a nice burnt orange color. I mean, this is complete build. Adjustment style on this is going to be turnbuckle, which is great, so we can adjust both sides of the actual tow arm to give us that precise measurement and dial everything in. Bushings are going to be upgraded just like everything else. We're doing all the bushings all the way around to make sure that there is no weird issues with the car. And so we have solved the problem of tow.
When we upgraded the front sway bar, it was enlarged from 21 millimeters to 25, which was a 19% increase in size. For the rear sway bar, we went from 16 to 22. This translates to a 37.5% increase. So while we upgraded both bars, the rear had a significantly larger increase, which should help the car rotate better through corners.
With an upgraded sway bar in the rear, we also have the same issue like the front. We need to upgrade the end links for the sway bar. So putting a stiffer bar in the rear are making these more prone to snap. I mean, this thing just feels like it wants to break in and of itself. I've already broke one in the front, so we've got some upgrades. Just like the rear lower control arm, we have another Midnight Drive product. So these are gonna be the rear sway bar end links. Now, a little bit different than the front, which is kind of what we wanted, is a turnbuckle style. So we can adjust both sides to change the length to be precise to make sure there is zero preload on the sway bar. Again, having zero preload allows us to make sure everything is dialed in and that there is no weird things going on with the car when it's hitting those corners.
What we do is
With every suspension component replaced, all that's left is to have a fully detailed track alignment done on the car and for winter to be over so I can prove everyone online wrong that replacing every suspension component will improve your lap times.